we all make mistakes. I don't ever want anyone to think that I'm perfect or I don't have issues in my life. We all do, but man, I look at who I am today compared to who I was. It's just light years. And all I want to do is be better tomorrow than I was today. Yeah. And I keep improving and I keep getting closer to God. And that's one of the prayers I pray almost every single day is, Lord, please get me closer to you, whatever it takes. Even if I got to go through something that you would think that, I don't want to deal with that. But sometimes we have to get closer to God.
Hey guys, I'm here with my great friend Marc Mero with Champion of Choices. You may remember Marc from WCW and WWE. Marc now travels the world inspiring middle school and high schoolers and talking to them about the choices they make and where they lead you. Most importantly, Marc is here today to share his faith in Christ and why that is the most important thing that drives him today. Check it out. Are you a faith-based father and looking for intentional ways to connect with your son in a big way? If so, you have to check out the Father-Son Hike of a Lifetime on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. June 2025, I am taking a group of faith-based fathers and their sons over to Spain for 9 days and the adventure of a lifetime. Go check it out at mattschaub.com/Spain. On that page, you'll actually see all of my upcoming Spain adventures, but make sure to check out the Father-Son Hike of a Lifetime. Marc Mero.
Good to see you, man.
Thanks for coming all the way out here.
Are you kidding me? I always wanted to come to Colorado.
Well, we just spent a long day yesterday. We drove all over Colorado, visited 2 schools, and it was cool to see you in action.
We not only do 2 schools, we got 2 schools, and then we did the FCA after the second school.
Yes,
which was a lot of fun too.
That was really cool too.
Yes,
yeah, because you've got a lot of story, lot of history. But what you've been doing for the last 18 years, right, coming up on 2 decades, is traveling the country, the world, just sharing about choices, right? And just your story of triumph and adversity and trials. But you do it in the secular school setting, so you don't get a chance to talk about your faith too much.
That's the unfortunate part about it is that when I speak at public schools, I can't talk about my faith in Christ. But when I'm able to go to churches or Fellowship of Christian Athlete events, I can share the whole story. And there's nothing better than just letting loose and sharing your story.
That was really cool yesterday to see that because we'll take us back, right? So I remember the first time I saw you was watching you. I was probably 16, 17, 18. We're talking 25, almost 30 years ago in WCW, WWF. Right. And I never imagined that I'd be trying to tape a microphone to your cheek yesterday. We had the most ridiculous audio visual, like trying to figure this thing out. And I'm like, just put it here and tape it to your face.
What he's talking about is I wear usually a wireless headset or a lavalier. And yesterday, for some reason, their system did not coincide with my microphone. And of course, Matt had all these ideas of putting like a space helmet on me and getting duct tape and everything else. And I just said, Matt, just give me a handheld microphone.
I know that's the death of you as a speaker, though, right? Like, it's hard. I hate having a microphone.
Well, especially when you have a remote control changer in your hand to change slides and video and volume up and down. And it also props when you're holding props up and showing people things. Yeah. So it's like putting something down, moving something around. So it's very uncomfortable for me to hold the microphone.
So you grew up athlete, played about every sport, champion in hockey and football, all-star, right? Champion hockey, football, you boxed, and then you get into professional wrestling. Did you know as a kid just sports is going to be your thing? Like when did you just know you were gifted in that? Like talk about just that first moment of
when
sports.
My parents got divorced, we lived in the worst drug and gang-infested neighborhoods in New York. And it was such a difficult place to be in life as a little kid. And sports gave me that outlet. My first sport was hockey. I loved hockey. And I became very successful at hockey. And but I ended up in the penalty box a lot more than on the ice. And that led to me going to the boxing gym and working out in the off season, the boxing gym, which eventually led to me winning 4 state titles in New York and then becoming a member of the USA box team where I stayed in Colorado Springs, Colorado at the U.S. Olympic Training Center. And then also football. I played I only played my senior year in high school and became first team All-Star. And at that time, I had like one of the most sacks in the season. I was a defensive end.
Okay.
And ran a 4.6 40, so I was a pretty quick football player.
In high school?
In high school.
Dang.
Yeah, so I was a pretty good athlete. And then I went, after boxing, I decided to turn professional in boxing. When I was with the U.S. box team, I realized I was one of the best fighters in the country. So I decided to turn professional in boxing. And 2 weeks before my first professional boxing match, I had my nose shattered in an accident and needed reconstructive surgery. And it was at that time, after the surgery, it was the first time in my life I could ever remember, like I had all this free time on my hands. Because remember, I'm always playing back-to-back sports. So I'm always training.
You're never sitting around.
Yes,
right? Yeah, you're always doing
I never
something.
had free time to just, take time to do whatever I wanted, And it was at that time I felt like I was missing out on something. My friends are all partying, going to parties and meeting girls and doing things, and I'm always training. And I thought, well, this is the first time I can't train. So and the doctor said it'd be almost a year before I could come back and start having full contact. So in that time off, I decided, I'm just going to have a little fun for a little while. Well, little did I know, 10 years later, I realized I'm a drug addict and I'm partying all the time and sports was behind me. And now I'm 30 years old. Thinking, what am I going to do with my life? Where do I go from here? And it was at that time, I had some friends over my apartment. My buddy's flipping through the TV with a changer, and he landed on professional wrestling. Now, realizing I was always a good athlete, I just said, hey, guys, I can do that. And they're all laughing.
Did you watch it growing up, like up to
I
that
did.
point? So you kind of knew a little bit about that world?
Absolutely.
Did you? Okay.
I loved wrestling when I was a kid, and I'll tell you a funny story that's actually in my book. My dad took us to see Bobo Brazil versus the original Sheik. And it was at the Buffalo War Memorial Auditorium.
In the 70s, right?
Yeah, yes. I was probably, right around 1970. Mm-hmm. And we were sitting up really high. And we're big Bobo Brazil fans, right? He did the cocoa butt, with his head. And so he's beating the heck out of the Sheik. And we're cheering and laughing and we're having a time. And all of a sudden the Sheik pulls a pencil out of his wrestling trunks and he starts stabbing Bobo Brazil in the head. And he's bleeding all over the place. And I'm going, oh my gosh. I'm asking my father, I go, Dad, why aren't the police getting involved? Like, stop this. He's going to kill him. And then I got nervous. Like, I'm thinking, what if he comes up here in the stands? Nobody's stopping this guy.
This guy's going to shank me.
Oh my God. But anyways, the reason I shared that story is that years later, I become a professional wrestler. And I'm wrestling at in Detroit, a Cobo Arena. And who walks in the dressing room? The original Sheik.
No way.
And I could not wait to tell the story. And he just sat with me, and you could see the smile on his face of realizing that what he did really affected this little kid in a sense that the believability of it was incredible,
But what's really cool about that, because we had a lot of time, windshield time yesterday. We drove for hours to these schools, and you're sharing stories now of where you get to impact people like that, right? Yes. You spoke to a kid 15 years ago. When he just signed an NFL contract,
yes,
or it was a record deal, right?
No,
so
we got so many of them now that are coming in because I've been doing this for so long, and I challenge students to write their dreams and goals into existence. But the key is when you write your dreams and goals down, put it somewhere where you have to see it. Because so many times I meet adults and they'll say, "Oh, I always wished I would have done this or done that," but if it was in front of them, they would have taken action towards that dream or goal. Matt, when I wrote my first book, and I think you know the story, was that it was 2008, I decided to write my first book. And what I did was I took a Post-it note, and all I did was write book 2010. In other words, I gave myself 2 years to write a book. I took that Post-it note, I stuck it on my computer. Now, every day I'm in front of my computer, what do I see? My dream, my goal, my time limit I'm giving myself, right?
Yeah.
And now, I'll be honest, my first year I didn't really write a whole lot. Then I realized I had 1 year left towards that dream, that goal, and I started writing more and more. By the time December came of 2010, my first book, How to Be the Happiest Person on the Planet, was delivered to my office. Now, if it wasn't for that Post-it note that reminded me of that dream or goal, I would not have been a writer. And That's why I challenge anybody. Write your dreams and goals down. And the kids do this now. So what's so cool is seeing a kid that wrote to me and saying, like, for example, this boy, his name is Petey Vergos. He saw me when he was 10 years old. And his father took him to one of my community events. And I would pass out goal-setting cards for the kids to write down. And on the goal-setting card, it says, write your dreams and goals into your future, right? But I tell them, you got to put it somewhere where you have to see it. So they put it on their refrigerator. And little Petey would see this every day. So his dad could see how interested he was. And Petey wrote on it, I want to be a PBA bowler. And I want to be the best bowler ever. And I still got the card because he sent a picture of it to me, So father sees how interested he is in bowling, and he starts taking him to the bowling alley. Now he sees this kid really loves bowling. Well, remember, he saw me at 10 years old. By the time he was 14, he had 53 300 games. Now, think about that. A 14-year-old kid throwing 300 games like that. This year, he was named Pro Bowler Association Rookie of the Year. And that's a dream that came true from writing it into existence.
Well, and you think of Bobo Brazil, right? That guy's on a platform, and you see him, and you remember that. He inspires you, and then you set your dreams and your goals, and then you get to meet him one day, and now you're doing that. It's such a cool cycle to continue and just put out there in the world. So we were talking a lot offline, just in the car about just like the professional wrestling industry. I remember growing up in the 80s, back in New Jersey, watching Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. I mean, those were the days when I was really into it, right in the 90s, 96 to 99. I'm in high school, so I'm kind of trailing off of watching that. But that was right about when I wrapped up. But that industry, like when we look back to everything those guys have been through, you share this in your presentation. You've got a list of, was it 30 plus?
Those are just wrestlers that I wrestled against.
Those are just the guys that
you went I actually
against.
Been in the ring with, but there were so many more that passed much too young.
Yeah.
And most of it is because of the drug abuse in professional wrestling.
That's an industry that you can't get out of unscathed.
Well,
it's going to be hard, right?
Any one of my friends or anybody that I know that's been in the wrestling industry for a number of years has got major health issues. When I say that, we've all had numerous surgeries. And a lot of people don't realize this about professional wrestling. I'll give you an example. Like if you're playing in the NFL, the Super Bowl is usually in January or February. And that one game, then after that game, the season's over. You have months to recover from injuries, time with family, mental health, whatever it is. Our Super Bowl is WrestleMania. The next night, we are at Monday Night Raw. There's no off season.
You're just back at Monday Night Football, right? Monday, there's no downtime.
Yes, and so it's a continuous season, and a lot of us don't take care of ourselves the way we should. And I tell you, it's a lot better now than when I remember being. They don't travel like we used to. We're doing 250 cities a year. They don't do that anymore. So it's a much better health-wise with the wrestlers today.
They're required now too, right? Isn't that part of the wellness or health program that they have that they have to rest?
They just don't, because of, I believe financially, it's not as financially, conducive for the company to do so many house shows. They're doing so well on Netflix and USA and different programs. They're doing really good right now.
Do you need a new roof or new paint job on your home or business and live in Northern Colorado? If so, check out one of our sponsors, M&E Painting and Roofing. We've been around for 20 years here in the community, and full disclosure, I am the M in M&E. Check them out at mndepainting.com. Are you a business owner who is struggling to understand and navigate the world of digital media? If so, check out one of our sponsors, Imprint Digital. They are the go-to source for everything digital related to your business. Not only are they a sponsor, but they also take care of all of our company's website. They produce this podcast, and I highly recommend them. Check them out at imprint-digital.com. And so when did you know that you wanted to speak to kids?
Well, it was nothing I set out to do, Matt. It kind of happened out of nowhere. After wrestling, I had my own personal training studio where I would train clients. And I got a call from Melbourne High School. Their football coach called me and said, hey, can you come talk to our players? We're getting ready to start our season. This is in August of 2007. And I said, sure. I thought that would be fun to talk to the guys, being a former athlete myself, a football player too. And I went and spoke to the football players. And next thing I know, I started getting a lot of messages. Back then, Facebook was real popular. So I was getting a lot of messages through Facebook from the players, said they really enjoyed the presentation. Some said it really inspired them, or one of them said it changed his life, I thought, wow, that's really cool. But unbeknownst to me, that coach called the coach at another school and said, hey, we just had Marc Mero here, and he did a great job inspiring our kids. Maybe you can inspire your students or your football players. He goes, my football players, let them talk to the whole school. And it just snowballed. And then my video, that a lot of people don't know this, though, but my buddy Diamond Dallas Page, when I would come to Atlanta, I would stay with him and do schools all over Atlanta. Well, because Diamond Dallas Page has the DDPY Yoga, they have their own studio and cameramen and everything. So he said to me, he goes, hey, Mark, why don't you let the guys come and film your presentation? And I said, sure, because we got a photo and a video release from schools when we go there.
Were you filming them at that point?
No.
Okay.
I mean, a little bit, but not professional like Dallas has, So Dallas films this. His main guy is named Steve Yu, comes out and films my presentation. And a few days later, Dallas calls me, goes, hey, bro, Steve just put together this cool video, man. It's only like 5 minutes long. He goes, do you mind if we put it up on YouTube? And he goes, hey, you never know, it might go viral.
That's the one, right?
Did it go viral? It went crazy viral. Now, not only did it go viral, I'm talking about 500 million people have seen this video now. When I say 500 million, like we shared it on our page and we got like 17 or 20 million.
But then but then it's passed.
But then we've seen other people share it, like Lil Wayne, Damon Wayans, Charlie Sheen. All these celebrities are sharing it, and they're getting millions and millions. So one day we decided to go to all these different places and count how many there were, or of just the ones we knew of. And we counted way over 500 million people have seen that video.
That's insane.
But the cool thing about that the first month that video was out, we had 3,000 booking requests.
What do you do at that point with that many? How do you handle that? Like, how did you get through that?
We were not prepared for it. We didn't have the staff to do it. And we hired more people, and we had a staff that would help, schedule everything. And we had my director of operations at the time was a lady named Michelle Hudson, who was just a phenomenal coordinator. And she was just putting it together. And we hired another lady after that to help her, be her assistant. And we had a whole team with us that was just coordinating everything. And I remember that first year we did 293 events.
And up to that viral video, because you said you're running about 250, right? Up through COVID. Before that video,
we averaged 230 a year was our average.
Prior to that viral video?
No. Once that video went viral, because remember, this video's been out there for
it's been 8-9 years.
10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but before that, we were still doing well. I mean, there's not a speaker on the planet that wouldn't have wished they had what we had back then, even before the video went viral. Yep. But that took it to another level. And it hasn't slowed down since, and other than COVID, because nobody was going to any schools at all.
Well, that's why we're here. So somebody asked, well, how do you guys know each other? And I saw that video, and I said, that would be cool to bring you out and bring you to a couple of schools here. What does that look like? So I call your office number on the Champion of Choices pages, and I'm thinking I'm going to get, push one for this department. And you're like, Marc Mero. It's like, Marc Mero? I go, Matt Schaub.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that call, but I go, what?
Yes.
And we just this was what, 5, 6, this was a while ago.
Right.
This is years ago. And then we just stayed in touch and, hey.
We were just always hoping that someday we could do this.
Yeah,
and now it became a reality. And
it
has been so much fun being here. I mean, I love what I do. So wherever I go, I'm always having a really good time. But to be with a friend, your wife, your company, the hospitality that you guys have provided for us, it's been second to none. It's just, heck, look at this. I got my own little mug here. Where'd you get this, huh? Pour into people now. It was just the gifts like that. And what's so funny about you is that you have this list that you have me fill out before I come. What do you like? What foods you like? Where do you like to go? What do you like to do? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm going, wow, this guy wants to know all this. So now I get to my room. He's got everything in my room. There's protein shakes. There's mixers. There's creatine. the heck? I'm at a health food store.
Just making sure you're good.
Man, good.
And then what do I do?
And then what does he do? He takes me to
you.
In-N-Out Burger. I don't know. I'm telling you
wreck his
something,
diet.
okay? But these are the laughs we have in between doing our shows because, you know, at the shows, there's laughter, there's tears and everything in between. And the coolest thing is seeing the impact it's having on not just the students, but the staff also, and how people just are making better choices because of this program, because no program is going to last 18 years and going strong if we didn't have something that made a difference in people's lives.
And you just talk about how things change and times change, and you've got social media, but that message, it's so timeless and just so core at the emotional level. I mean, you come out hitting pretty hard, right? Like so hard that you've got to then interject something to bring them back up. But there's so many stories that have those kids and adults, everybody there. I'm bawling. Everybody's crying. You guys are all going to cry today when we go down to Witness Sprites or school.
Yeah,
super impactful.
It's because we all have a part of that story in us, whether it's maybe losing a parent or losing a loved one or going through a divorce or, you know, drug addiction or bad choices or whatever it was. We all have something that affected us in our life. And I'm not out there pointing my finger at saying, don't do this, don't do that. I said, this is what I did. And people go, wow, that's what I'm doing too, or that's what I did. And I want to make a change in my life. And the coolest thing is watching students hug each other or apologize to each other. Or get a letter from a student that goes, the kid that bullied me all the time, he came up to me at lunch and said, do you mind if I sit with you? And now we're best friends. Yeah. That's like the best feeling in the world to know that you can change someone's heart. And that's why it's an emotional story, because by touching someone's heart is how you change their mind.
And it's immediate, because you're seeing, like, I'm watching that kid crying and then coming up, standing in line and hugging you, getting a wristband. Yeah. And then going, and then we're in the car and you're just pinging. Your phone's going off. You're getting all these messages from the students. It's
I love that. And I try to answer everyone. I really do. It's like, sometimes it's a little overwhelming, but I really try. But you know what, Matt, the coolest thing is because the kids go home and I talk about how my parents passed on and the relationship I had with them wasn't always good. And all my mom ever wanted to do was talk to me, but I never had time to talk to her. The coolest thing is to get letters from the parents after a presentation. Yeah. And some are kind of comical because they're like shocked, you know. I had one not too long ago. A mother wrote to me and she said, my daughter came home from school today and she said she wants to start having dinner with me and my husband. And she's being nice to her little brother. What the heck did you say?
What did you do? What did you do to my child? Who is this?
So those are just knowing that I was able to make that impact is a beautiful thing. But even more so, the kids that feel like they don't want to be here anymore, that they feel there's no reason to continue, and you give them hope. You give them, because I share my story of getting to rock bottom, and Matt, and even though it may sound funny, as I realized that rock bottom had a basement, and I was at the worst place in my life, and making that amazing comeback encourages other kids and other people to say, hey, no matter how bad it gets, we can make this, we could turn this around and make it work. Yeah. It's not just like overnight. It's you got to crawl before you can walk and walk before you can run.
Yeah, and it was, you don't share the story. I don't think you can share the story in the typical middle school and maybe not even the high school setting, but you did share with FCA.
Yes.
That was it Christmas Eve or Christmas Day?
It was.
And you open your book with it,
yes,
right, when you're in the shower. And that was, that's a powerful story.
It is. I can't share that at public schools only because it's about my faith in Christ. And it talks about my giving my heart to God and asking for forgiveness. Yeah. And, it's just unfortunate you can't share that at schools because it is so powerful. Yeah. But that's my story. And so what I do is I kind of shorten that up a little bit to the place where I said I didn't want to be here anymore, but if it wasn't for me talking to someone, I would not be standing in front of you. That whole talking to someone they don't realize was me on my knees talking to God.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a crazy story. And you had you had given your life to Christ at 21?
21, yes.
21 was when you said yes.
First made that, I prayed and made a commitment, and but you just get caught up in the world.
But that's right after getting your nose shattered, right? And that's the 10 years of drugs and alcohol and addiction.
Right.
So how's your journey with Christ then? Is it?
It was
there?
sparingly. You when things go bad, you need them. When you're facing jail time or something that I was going through, God, please don't let this
praying.
happen. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, now we're friends, But it's just amazing how patient God is. How, I walked away from him many times and I thought, my gosh, it just keeps accepting me back.
Yeah.
And the last time, when I gave my life to Christ and I said, I just want to make a difference. And he gave me this amazing platform. And I want to be an example. I want to be someone that, and don't get me wrong, man, we all make mistakes. I don't ever want anyone to think that I'm perfect or I don't have issues in my life. We all do, but man, I look at who I am today compared to who I was. It's just light years. And all I want to do is be better tomorrow than I was today. Yeah. And I keep improving and I keep getting closer to God. And that's one of the prayers I pray almost every single day is, Lord, please get me closer to you, whatever it takes. Even if I got to go through something that you would think that, I don't want to deal with that. But sometimes we have to get closer to God.
If you're a Christian business owner in Northern Colorado, check out one of our sponsors, the Foundry Advisory. The Foundry is a Christian peer-to-peer advisory network where you can plug in as a business owner not only to talk about how to improve your business, but how to integrate your faith. Check them out at thefoundryadvisory.com. And remember, they're not only a sponsor, but I'm also a member of their group. If you have a story to share and you're thinking of becoming an author to do so, you have to connect with one of our sponsors, Scribe Media. I worked with Scribe to publish Painted Baby, and I'm currently working with them again to publish my next book, Pour Into People. Click on the link in the show notes below to connect with them, and they'll actually give you a little something extra because you came to them through me. Hey guys, as you're listening to Mark and I's episode, make sure you go to Amazon and check out his new book that just released, Bad to Good, the inspiring story of a wrestling wild man. Was that moment, the Christmas Eve moment in the shower and almost taking your life, that was your final commitment?
Yes.
Ultimate commitment.
Yeah.
No looking back from that.
The amazing thing about that was I was a very bad drug user. Cocaine was my drug of choice back then. And I have never, ever touched a drug since that day. No drugs, not one.
Even my coffee.
I don't know what's in that coffee. I'm staying away from it.
You told me I was addicted yesterday. We're on the way out of Akron. I'm like, I got to get another hit. I got to get another one. Pull up.
He is joking, but he's serious. Okay.
I have a problem.
No, he loves coffee. But on a serious note, I've never, and I'll tell you why I've never touched a drug again. It isn't so much that God wouldn't forgive me if I repented again. It's not that. It's that I really believe my life would be over. And what a terrible legacy to ever have to leave after doing so many good things in life and helping so many people. And they go, he died of a drug overdose?
Yeah.
So all that was just a bunch of BS, I never want to ever have that. So, but anyways, that's not even a problem anymore. It's one of those things where I just know I just have no desire to ever do drugs.
And that drug cocaine, I did it once, and all you want to do is do more until you run out. Like
Exactly.
We ran out. That's the only reason we didn't stop, and I'm happy we ran out. And I'm like, I woke up and like, what did we just do?
Matt, and one of the stories that I shared is that when I overdosed on drugs on 3 occasions, but one time I overdosed, I was with all my buddies. We were partying all night, and we were smoking coke then, smoking crack. Really.
So it was crack?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And we were smoking all night, and what happened was I remember taking a hit and just passing out, like overdosing, And the next thing I know, I woke up the next morning, but my friends are all standing around me. Some are even crying, thinking I died. But not one of them called an ambulance, meaning that I understand that the mentality of when you're high and you don't want to police involved because you don't want to get arrested and you're just hoping that I was going to be okay, I guess, But it made me realize that, we really become who we surround ourselves with. Because what would I have done if it was one of them passed out? Maybe I would have done the exact same thing. Just wait, let's see, make sure he's okay. Before, because we call the ambulance, the police are going to come and we're all going to get arrested.
Yep.
So it was a really eye-opening thing that happened the last time I overdosed on drugs, and but it didn't stop me from doing them. That's what the crazy thing was. It didn't stop until Christmas Eve.
So you just wake up the next day. You're like, all right, that was a
Yeah. Now we
forgot
start
about
again.
that part of the night. Let's go.
And that night, after overdosing, I'm right back at it doing coke again.
Man.
Yeah, it was a horrible roller coaster of a life.
But man, like God's got you here for a reason,
Amen.
right? It's like as much as you turn away and reject him, or he was like the bail you out God for 10 years, right? Sitting there, like I'm in trouble. I need prayers, right?
Absolutely.
To just fully surrendering, fully going all in, and then you've been on this.
I remember getting on my knees and just begging him for forgiveness after the Christmas Day episode, and just wanting to change my life. Like I didn't know what I was going to do, and I lost much of my fortune through bad decisions, of course, divorce and gambling, you name it, I was involved in it, and went through all that money. And next thing you know, I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. And I became a personal trainer at Gold's Gym. And Matt, God is my witness, people would walk into Gold's Gym and say, "Oh my gosh, Marc Mero, what are you doing here?" And I say, "I work here." They go, "You work at Gold's Gym?" And it's like the most humbling thing, Yeah. But, I enjoyed inspiring people. It's like it's kind of a gift that some people have that, like DDP, like he's one of my closest friends. We live 20 minutes apart, and he's just such an inspiration, and I inspire him. He inspires me, and we have these crazy workouts together. Like we try to outdo each other all the time. And the reason why I don't go over and do as much with him anymore, because we're going to end up killing each other, okay? I keep having to remind him how old we are now. This is like we were in our 20s and 30s wrestling together. So, but anyways, getting back to my Gold's Gym story was that I really enjoyed inspiring people. Yeah. And that's what led me to eventually when I got the call from Melbourne High School to become a speaker, I realized this is something that's something that's right in my wheelhouse. So I got rid of my gym, I sold my gym, and I moved on into becoming a full-time speaker. And, I kind of make the joke that I still get to go out there and entertain people, but no one's hit me over the head with a chair anymore.
No.
At least not yet, Matt.
Not yet. You got to sign shoes yesterday.
I did.
Some crazy requests. Well, you got not jumped. You got choked by all the jiu-jitsu kids.
I
did.
You
come in Monday.
Okay, I got to share this story with you, Matt, because that was
by like 12 kids.
Yes. So Matt's got a jiu-jitsu school here now. You're a black belt, correct? Mm-hmm. Crazy, man. Just amazing. Matt's in crazy shape, even though he drinks all that coffee. But he has me come to his what they were teaching a class, and all the kids were there. And Matt wanted me to come and, speak to the kids after they kind of rolled and stuff. So I was watching them roll and do all their moves. And man, it was impressive. Watch them take each other down. And man, these are little kids. I'm going, wow. So Matt has the idea of let's choke out Marc Mero, former Intercontinental Wrestling champion. These kids weigh 30, 40, 50 pounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of them was like 32 pounds.
Yes, the little kids. And they'd come up behind me and they'd put me in a rear naked choke, right? And I got to tell you, man. So he goes, just tap when it gets too much. I'm thinking, oh, yeah, these kids are going to really choke me out.
We're gonna cut the photos in right now. Here, Joe, put them in right
and
now.
Of course, they're filming and taking photos of every one of these kids choking me out, okay? But yes, they were very, very disciplined. So when you tap, they knew you let go, So, but I got to tell you, they put you, I'm watching these little kids. What was the youngest one? How old?
Jax.
9?
The youngest one is 7.
7, okay. I knew they were really young, but each kid, they couldn't wait to get behind Marc Mero and put him in a chokehold. And I tapped on everyone. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, they got it. As soon as they sunk it in, it doesn't take long. I mean, you only have a few seconds before you pass out.
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah. So I was, so as they started walking up, I started tapping, okay? Just making sure I don't got to go through this. This is getting embarrassing.
That was fun, though. I appreciate you doing that, though, because just to have those questions, I know your crowd is more middle school and high school, but you had young kids, right? These are all elementary school kids asking. They say the dangest things. They ask some really wise, really inquisitive questions.
They do.
Yeah, they really do.
How much money you make?
Yeah, how much money do you make? Yeah. And then we said,
what kind of car you drive?
What's a bad choice? And he goes, don't spend it on drugs and booze. One kid says, but he's right.
Yeah.
Right? Like he knows that.
These kids were just fun. We had such a great time, man. What a beautiful gym you have here.
Thank you.
And man, your staff, everybody. This is like a place that a parent would feel safe bringing her son or daughter to, because safety is paramount here, and that's what's so important. I know I've been to some different schools and boxing gyms and things where it's not as the kids have so much time by themselves that they don't always follow the rules. And you got to have rules in place so nobody gets hurt. And this was a really safe place because they made sure that the kids are all respectful. That's the first thing that you guys teach them is respect for each other. And I really like that because as soon as I did tap, they did let go. Okay, so they knew that was.
Well, you had one, and you're turning colors. It was the last gal, Alex, right? And I'm like, you're gonna let go?
Yeah.
Were you just seeing how far you could go? That was the last one.
You know what? I was curious myself. No, I was curious myself to see. Like, how long do you have before you actually go out? So I took it to the limit.
You did,
yeah. And that was was it the girl? Was the girl?
Alex?
Yeah, Alex, the girl. Yeah, she was a girl. She was the last one, and she laid it in there, and I was like, okay, let me see how long it would take, and I realized, wow, you don't want to get caught in that thing. That's you're just a few seconds away from going to sleep.
You just wake up and you have a nice dream.
Right, right.
Like you'll wake up from just like a dream.
Yeah.
Like you just ate a Subway meatball sandwich or something.
Who would ever do that?
I don't know. Those things are dangerous. And then, so I started with that because you get at the birth at school. It's interesting to see how the kids respond. They just, at the end, they bum rushed you. And it was chaos everywhere, and we're trying to get kids in and out to get photos.
That's what's hard is because you don't want a kid to get hurt because sometimes they start pushing each other to get close or get a picture or something. And so that's sometimes we got to have a little more order in schools. But because a lot of times when they say, if there's anybody that wants to say hello to Mark, you come down after. Well, they don't realize that sometimes every kid wants to say hello or get a picture or an autograph or whatever or tell me their story. So you got to be careful, but yesterday was a lot of fun. What a great day! And now we got another school right after we're done with this podcast. We're going to another school.
Going to Milliken.
Yes,
Linda Spreitzer, 40 years in education. She was my 6th grade teacher at Conrad Ball Middle School.
That is
and I was
crazy.
I was a little hellion, man, and she kept me in check, but loved on me, and that's what she's done her entire career. So this
what a
whole
gift to give her back.
Because of her. Yeah.
And in a sense of what comes full circle, someone that inspired you or was patient with you when you were younger, and now you're able to bring this program to her school.
So you've done this 18 years, coming up on 20. Like what's the next 10, 20? Like how much longer are you speaking? We had some cool conversations about that.
I started when I was 47, and I remember saying this. Specifically, I can only do this till I'm 50 because no kid in middle or high school wants to listen to a guy over 50 years old come and tell them, stories. I turned 65 this summer. In a few months, I turned 65. And I think, wow, I'm connecting better now than I've ever connected with students. And how long can I go? I don't know. I mean, as long as I'm healthy, and it's still making a difference. It's the main thing. I don't want to do this just to do it. Yeah. I want to do it because I'm making an impact on students' lives. So whether I go 2, 10 more years or whatever, And you know what? Things happen in life, though, the transitions. Yeah. Like certain jobs, it transition to something else. This Champion Choices program has transitioned so much. I mean, we started out, I remember, it was crazy. We had a whole dance team that toured with us because we would do entertainment at schools with a dance team, and we had a tour bus. And I remember I took I think it was my 3rd trip on that tour bus. I said, I can't tour bus no more. I mean, because instead of flying to New York, you're spending days on a bus. I could be in New York in two and a half hours.
You guys had your own wrapped.
It was donated
tour
to
bus.
us.
Somebody gave you the bus.
Yeah, someone donated this giant bus, a beautiful bus. It was all jigged out too. I mean, it had pictures of the Champion Choices logos on it. It was really cool, but it was just you couldn't do as many schools because you're traveling so long. And we're flying everywhere. Yeah. So we cut the people we travel with way down, and it was cost effective, obviously, because the bus gets 3 miles a gallon, I think it was. It was crazy.
It's cheaper, faster to fly.
Yes,
right at that point. Yeah,
and also flying with less people too. But now we've got it really streamlined now, where it's just me and a tech director that travels with me, and I use a remote control. In fact, Matt gave me my very first remote control yesterday with a volume changer on it. My remote control didn't have a volume changer on it. I never knew there was one, but Matt said, I got one.
I found that on accident. I didn't even know the button was there. And I'm like, oh, that changes.
Yes, so I used his yesterday. It worked great.
So one thing I noticed in your presentations is if you're a follower, believer of Christ, you can see some of the things in your presentation, right, where people will know that you are. You don't get to talk about that in schools,
right.
But we wrap up yesterday at a school in Akron, and then we're meeting with the FCA kids, and
right.
we're talking to them about the platform they have, right? If you're in sports or you're in a position where just even one other person is watching you, looking up to you, you're on a platform, right? And these kids have this responsibility to do that. So, like, what do you say to the young kids that are following Jesus, that are in sports or anything where eyes are on them? Like, what kind of encouragement? So we talked about that with them yesterday.
One of the things I tell young people is it's very important to be aware of who you surround yourself with, especially as a believer. You want to let the love and light of Christ shine through you. And we become who we surround ourselves with. The Bible even says in 1 Corinthians 15:33, don't be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. And I just take that verse and I use it in a simpler form for schools. I'll say, your friends are like elevators. They either take you up or they take you down. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. So it's important to know that. And I really encourage these young people to let the love and light of Christ shine through them and be an example.
Yeah, love that, man. Well, Matt, thank you. Thank you so much for being here and spending all this time. We've had quite a tour. I don't know how much you do it. I told the team, I'm like, I was just tired, just like watching you.
Yeah, and we did 3 yesterday,
so much fun.
3 different events. But I've done 5 many times, and it does take its toll on you. Because the events aren't what's so difficult. It's coordinating all the letters after and answering school kids that are depressed or being bullied at school, or kids that feel like they don't want to be here anymore. It's really encouraging. And so you're going back and forth on a lot of messages with students, and then working with schools to help get these kids into the proper counseling to help them, because obviously we're not going to be there all the time, but they do write to me, and we stay in touch with a lot of them.
And it's cool that you don't just, because I've been to the speakers where they come out, they give you an inspirational message, right? Leave you in tears, and you're like, I got something I need to talk about. And then they're gone, right?
Yeah.
Like they're gone, they got paid.
Yeah.
But you actually create a way that they can communicate with you, and then you're back and forth with them and copying the schools, right? In case there's an issue where, okay, you need to know about this student right here. So that, you're in the car, you're just,
yeah.
So you're working more on that back end, right?
The other thing is having after presentation questionnaire about what a kid would have felt during the presentation, what part of the presentation inspired them or impacted them. So there's a great classroom survey that they have to talk about, and kids can open up in the classroom and talk about situations they're going through.
Yeah, love it. So I still am a WWE, WWF fan. Favorite match, favorite person that you've wrestled?
There's 2 different ones there. The favorite match was with Brian Pillman, Fall Brawl, and my favorite person to wrestle was probably Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay.
Because I've wrestled so many times. We were both in WCW and WWE together.
Okay.
We wrestled for more belts: the World Television title, the U.S. title, the Intercontinental title. It was just a fun guy to work with, and one of the greatest of all time.
And the more you do it, right, you're just getting into a flow and a rhythm, and it's like you guys almost know.
It's a dance, man. It really is.
Right? But you get so good
it's just
at
a
that.
chemistry you have with certain guys that you can just go. You almost know what each other wants to do in a certain situation that you're in the ring. And there's a few guys like that, like my buddy Diamond Dallas Page. I love working with him. Yeah. Triple H, another one I wrestled hundreds of times, many times. And Steve Regal. These are guys. Eddie Guerrero was one of the greatest wrestlers I've ever worked with. It was like seamless. And Ric Flair, his matches are very similar. So when you're out there with him, it was like walk and talk. It was easy, you know.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen all the time with everybody. Like that's a rarity.
Like,
and just you get into that, and then when you do, you just go.
Right.
Love
right.
that.
Yes.
Love that. You have a cool voicemail from him.
Oh yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that
yes.
was
Steve,
really
Steve's. I did his podcast, and Steve, when we wrestled in King of the Ring, when he came up with Austin 316, he credited me with him being able to come up with that because unfortunately I kicked him in the mouth during our match. He needed like 14 stitches, and so I in the time that he had to go get stitched up was when he came up with Austin 316. So if he never would have been kicked in the mouth, he would have had to wrestle Jake much sooner and never would have came up with that.
That may not have happened, right?
Yeah, well, you never know. I mean, he makes a joke about it, but who knows? You know, he's just a great guy.
Love it. Well, man, thanks for being here. We're going to go roll off.
All right, we're on to another school.
Inspire some kids. We wrap up this show same way with every guest. You wrote down a statement that you want to leave with the world when you leave it.
Yes.
What did you write?
Well, you know, something we talked about during the podcast. It says, we become who we surround ourselves with. And I gave the biblical quote of 1 Corinthians 15:33. Don't be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Be the light.
Marc Mero.
All right, man.
That's a wrap.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Matt.
Sir.
What a great friend, man. A lot of fun.
This was awesome. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, drop a comment below. Make sure to watch the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe. If you're a business owner looking to improve your life, leadership, faith, family, and business, I've got a couple of free things that I'd love to share with you. So go to mattschaub.com and download my free tools. I guarantee these couple of things will get you started off in the right direction.